take a minute, I know you do with Senator Tillis, to speak directly to the legitimate concerns that Alaska veterans have raised who feel as though military experience is the prerequisite for the VA secretary to understand and have a baseline understanding of their needs, their service, their experience. So if you can address all those, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Senator. And I appreciate the question, and I appreciate the concern at the heart of the question about who's best prepared to be VA secretary. I'm not a gunnery sergeant, but I'm a fighter and I'm relentless. Anybody who's worked with me knows that. 2, I know how the government works, and importantly, I know when and how it doesn't work. And I will fight relentlessly to ensure that it works for our vets.
So I think my constituents, my veterans, their families, they want to know, will you have their back?
I've spent the last 20 years involved in decisions about when and where, as a staff person, I'm not going to overstate my role, but as a staff person, when and where our men and women go to fight. And I've gone and seen and met and witnessed what they're doing. And I've gone to visit them when they're injured here at home. And I have seen and internalized their excellence. And I know that the basic requirement of a VA secretary is to have their back to ensure that I will fight like hell to take as good a care of them as they've taken of us.
So in the immortal words of Cajun Bob, you will
kick ass and
kick ass and take names on behalf of our veterans?
Yes, sir.
That's important. They need to know it.
Yes, sir.
I also want to get your commitment, first year of your tenure, to get up to Alaska, meet with my veterans, see our state, see the challenges. Can I get your commitment on that?
You've got that commitment.
Can I get your commitment? You know, if confirmed, you're going to be running a big bureaucracy. Can I get your commitment to kind of do a VFR direct with all of us on this committee? When we have issues, we can go directly to you, not through the 18 layers of bureaucracy to.
Yes, you have that commitment.
Let me ask one final question. Again, these were concerns from my veterans. You served in the Obama administration. My first 2 years in the Senate were the last 2 years of the Obama administration. A lot of the issues I was dealing with were some of the big VA problems. The choice program, which in my state, the implementation was an utter disaster. It actually collapsed the system in Alaska. I mean, total disaster. The Phoenix wait time scandal. What did you learn from these? And do you think that experience is going to help you? Is that a liability given your background? And can you assure my veterans that we're not going to go back to those days, which I don't think anyone on this committee thinks were good days for our veterans? We've made a lot of progress since that, and we've made a lot of progress back home in Alaska, particularly as it relates to putting together an Alaska plan that got us out of the hole the choice program put us in.
Thank you, Senator. The lifeblood of well-run, well-functioning organization or agency is timely, accurate information. That was not the case in Phoenix. The lifeblood of a well-run organization is accountability. Accountability happened in Phoenix, but it was slow. You all have subsequently changed the statute to make that easier, and it won't ever happen again. At the end of the day, the principle that will inform my leadership of the VA, if I'm confirmed, is whether any decision increases access and improves outcomes for our vets. That is what we owe the vets. That is what my commitment to you, to the VSOs, and to them, and to the president, is that I will deliver if confirmed as secretary.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Sullivan. Senator Joe Manchin III.
Hallelujah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations on your lofty position. First of all, Mr. McDonough, thank you very much. And if I may say, Dennis, we've known each other for a while. And I'm glad that my colleagues brought up about, sometimes I think we need to be veterans, and I never had the honor and the pleasure of being able to be a veteran. I think that's a void in my life. I think back, I was an altar boy for 12 years. I was a Boy Scout for a long time, never made it to the military. And that's something I really think there's a void, and I think it's a special opportunity. But we know that it takes a person who cares and has the experience to do the job, and that's where you come in. And I think, Dennis, that it says everything. Let me tell you a little bit of what you're facing and what I faced in 5 years I've been on this committee. I came on this committee in the 114th Congress in 2015. Since then, they've talked about the wait time scandals. That led to the VA Choice Act. That led to the Mission Act, which needs a lot of repairs, as you know. The veterans unemployment and hiring. After the financial crisis, we had more veterans unemployed. Took longer to get them back employed. We had we started I Hire a Vet, a campaign all over the country. Toxic exposure, Agent Orange, burn pits. I know you're very much aware of those, and it's really wreaking havoc today. The veteran suicide and mental health that we deal with on a daily basis. Veterans homelessness is something that I can't comprehend at all, how we can have any veterans that we wouldn't have better care for. The women veterans healthcare access, women think they've been left out or not a high priority, and they're an integral part of our military and our defense today. The hiring backlog, over 40,000 vacancies in the VA. Veterans Affairs, IT infrastructure delay. Clarksburg VA murders. If anything I've ever experienced in my life is knowing that we could have veterans who were murdered in a veterans hospital. And we have 8 confirmed, a woman that will be serving many life sentences over and over. And there might be as many as 3 more. We've had sexual abuse just found in another Beckley VA hospital. 4 veterans we know of, and probably 40 more over a 25-year span. There's a breakdown somewhere, sir, and we're just going to need someone like you who can dig into that, because to me it would be vetting. We're not vetting people properly. We're not having strict rules adhered to. But more importantly, we passed in 2017 the Accountability and Whistleblower Protection Act. We wanted to make sure that we could basically get rid of the people that weren't doing their job. I don't think that that's been exercised much since then. And I'll give you a perfect example. The people that I hold responsible for the VA hospital deaths in Clarksburg have been moved to other places in the VA system. Unheard of. And I knew way back when this happened, in meeting with them, that someone was either lying to me or totally incompetent. And now when I found out, we brought new leadership in, they were moved somewhere. I can't find them. And I'd like to know on that, if we could bring that to highest priority. I think to put the credibility back in the VA, the care and the desire for the care that they deserve, I would ask you as one of your first visits to come to Clarksburg VA and set down what your mission would be. And I think, sir, that could set the tone for the entire VA system all over the country. It's just unbelievable, totally unbelievable. And now I have families calling me daily. Did my father or grandfather lose their life because someone murdered them when they were there? Still not knowing for sure. These are all the things that we're dealing with today. You can help ease that pain, I think. But Dennis, I look forward to you. We need someone of your ability more now than ever. And like I said, I'm in awe today of every person I see in uniform, all the people you see out here guarding this great republic of ours, and anybody who has served, to give them the greatest care. So with that, I know the challenges are great. If you'd like to comment on any of that, I know you've probably been following some of this, but I don't know to what extent on that.
Well, I thank you very much, Senator, and I have been following it, and we had a very good conversation, which I
Yes, we did.
appreciated.
Thank you for that.
And my commitment is as I assured you before, which is to work in close consultation and collaboratively with you and with the rest of the members of the committee on these questions.
I think you're going to find a committee that's worked in, I'm just about finished, a committee that's worked in the most bipartisan way. Now, I've said this before, and I mean it with all my heart. Men and women in uniform are the glue of this country. They keep us together. They keep us talking. They keep us finding ways to work together to make sure that we're taking care of those who are taking care of us. So you've got it in your hands now, the cradle, basically, of the people who've made the country what we are today. And we owe it to them. So with that
Amen.
being said, you're going to find all the support. If we don't have a piece of legislation that allows you to reorganize, that allows you to basically get rid of the dead wood and the people who don't care. My grandmother always said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. I know how much you care. Now you have to show the rest of the world.
Thank you.
Thank
Senator.
you, sir.
Thank you.
I look forward to voting for you too.
Thank you.
Count me in.
Thank
Coach.
you.
Put me in a game, coach.
You got it, big boy. Thank you, Senator Manchin. Remotely, we have Senator Blackburn.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And Mr. McDonough, thank you so much for the time this week. It was wonderful to visit with you by phone. Let me just, and I appreciate your commitment. You've talked some about your passion and that relentless commitment to doing the job and to public service. So very quickly, what would uniquely qualify you to lead the VA with a budget that is nearly $250 billion and 400,000 employees, and it serves 9 million enrolled veterans? So kind of following on to Senator Manchin's question, what is your unique qualification?
Thank you, Senator. As you've indicated, I am a fighter and I'm relentless, and that means I will fight to get our vets back, and I will ensure relentlessly that the resources that you've authorized and appropriated for the committee are invested wisely and with the veteran at the center of those investments. I also understand how the government works from both ends of Pennsylvania Avenue. That means demanding excellence. That means enforcing accountability. That means being in close collaboration and consultation with you and other members of this committee to ensure that we're using all the available power of the U.S. government to get our vets back. Lastly, for 20 years now, I've been involved in these decisions about when and where to send our men and women to war. Not as a decider, I'm not trying to overstate my role, but as a staff person. And I've also seen the excellence of our military, and I've seen the challenges of long deployments, and I've seen the sacrifices, but I've seen the resilience, and there is no higher calling than to be able to use my skills and my experience to repay and to ensure that we
Okay.
live up to the promises we've made to our vets.
Yeah, let me jump in there because Senator Moran and others have talked about community care, and you and I talked a little bit about this. You've got choice, you've got mission. We've got, as part of repaying these veterans, many that want to get care in their communities. You talked about the right balance of care. And I would like for you to bring just a little bit of clarity to that. What do you see as the right balance of care? And would you commit that you're not going to roll back on standards and reverse the intent of a veteran-centric care and addressing the whole health of the veteran?
Thank you, Senator. The community care will continue to be a fundamental way that the department provides care to our veterans.
Okay.
1. 2, the statute is clear on this. It says that best medical outcome for the veteran is the objective. And that will continue to be my priority if
Okay.
confirmed as secretary. Third, every decision I make as secretary will come back to this principle, which is it increasing access for veterans and is it improving outcomes for veterans? If the answer
Okay.
to those questions are no, then we won't do it.
Okay, well, and you and I discussed the health records, the electronic health records,
ma'am.
and others have brought that up today. And you know, my frustration with a $4 billion IT budget, and they can't seem to get it right. And indeed, Senator Tester and I had legislation this year that would have improved the management of that. And for the record, we're about out of time. I'll send you QFR on the management of those programs. And then you and I also discussed purchasing. And for the record, I will send you a question delving a little bit more into that purchasing. But thank you for the time today. Thank you for your commitment. And Mr. Chairman, I'll send the time back to you.
Thank you, Senator Blackburn. Next we have remotely Senator Sinema.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate Mr. McDonough joining us today. My office is increasingly hearing from Arizona veterans asking for clarification on how to receive the COVID vaccine from the VA and when they'll be able to receive it. My staff has been working locally to make sure information is getting out to the community, and this highlights the importance of having Senate-confirmed leadership at the Department of Veterans Affairs as quickly as possible. I've introduced with Senator Tillis the Ensuring Survivor Benefits During COVID legislation to address concerns that survivors of veterans who died from COVID may not be granted their earned benefits if the death certificate only identifies COVID-19 as the cause of death without considering the impact of other service-connected illnesses. If confirmed, will you work with me to ensure that processes are in place to address these concerns?
Yes, Senator, I will.
Thank you. Over the last year, my office has worked with the VA, American Legion, and Philips North America to bring an Atlas site to Arizona. We hope to provide more details about that site in the coming weeks. The Atlas, or the Accessing Telehealth Through Local Area Stations program, is part of VA's Anywhere to Anywhere telehealth initiative to bring a VA telehealth access point to underserved communities. In Arizona, there may be many rural and tribal communities that could benefit from this and other telehealth initiatives. If confirmed, will you continue to work with our office to expand telehealth opportunities to rural and tribal communities?
Yes, I will.
As we consider expansion, we have to acknowledge the challenges of access to broadband in these communities. As the VA continues to expand its telehealth initiatives, what role do you feel the VA should play in addressing broadband access?
Thanks, Senator. I think the VA has a key role to play in coordinating with other federal agencies and with the FCC to ensure that the kinds of access questions that VA can lead on, including on telehealth, can be expanded by better broadband access, more universally available. So I think there's a critical role to play within the interagency, and that, if confirmed, would be precisely what I intend to do.
Thank you. You know, in Arizona, the Navajo Nation has been hit particularly hard by COVID. The CDC notes that Native Americans are at a disproportionate risk for complications from COVID due to health and socioeconomic disparities in these communities. They also experience other inequities, such as high instances of homelessness and challenges accessing clean drinking water and sanitation. If confirmed, what steps will you take to ensure the VA is best serving Native American veterans?
This would be a fundamental priority consistent with the president's stated priorities on equity and stated consistent with what I have said throughout the day today, which is how are we increasing access and improving outcomes for all vets? And third, consistent with the direction to me from the president to ensure that VA is welcoming of all veterans, including obviously Navajo and other Native American veterans. So there's a fundamental role for us, for the VA to play there. And if confirmed, I would intend to play that role.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Information technology modernization has been and continues to be a central focus for the VA. If confirmed, you'll be responsible for overseeing these major modernization efforts. As cybersecurity threats continue to increase across the U.S., what steps will you take to ensure the VA is equipped to protect against cyber threats and is practicing good cyber hygiene?
Thank you, Senator. Obviously, the range of cyber threats that we confront as a country is only growing. Having cybersecurity, cyber hygiene front and center, not only for the major programmatic efforts at the department, but also for individuals in the workforce at the department will have to be a fundamental priority for the next secretary. And if that's me, I would intend to make that cybersecurity a key priority.
Thanks. You know, the VA still has a number of legacy systems it's supporting. These can not only be costly, but also generally do not follow or accommodate today's security best practices.
Right.
What would be your approach to addressing legacy systems if confirmed as VA secretary?
Thank you, Senator. Obviously, there has to be a fundamental focus on cybersecurity and cyber hygiene across the enterprise, one. And then two is effectively performing on the modernization efforts will allow VA to not only increase security and increase performance and outcomes for vets, but will also reduce costs over time of these legacy systems. So executing on the modernization has to be a key priority.
And I see that my time has expired. With your indulgence, Mr. Chair, I will submit the rest of my questions for our nominee, and I want to thank him for joining us here today.
Thank you, Senator
Thank you,
Sinema. And in that regard, the questions need to be in by tomorrow at 5 p.m. Last but certainly not least, and I've been in your position before, Senator Kramer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. McDonough. And I don't mind, frankly. It means that I don't have to ask Dennis about rural veterans, Native American veterans, telehealth, COVID-19 Mission Act, or community care network. So we can get right down to the business of Clemens Stadium, Johnny's football, and Jay Christensen Stadium versus the Cobbers. How about that?
I like that.
All right. Well, we'll get to that on your way to Alaska when you stop in Fargo. Okay. But you and I did have a wonderful discussion. I want to tell you how much I appreciated the meeting we had earlier this week. We did drill down on a number of these issues, as well as one of my most important issues that's probably a little more unique to me, and that is, of course, the use of alternative forms of therapies, treatments, particularly hyperbaric oxygen treatment. And the reason I'm such a proponent of hyperbaric oxygen treatment for and therapies for veterans is because I've seen it work so well. A number of veterans that I know have really had their lives changed and in some cases saved by this important therapy, as well as others who've had injuries that come from sports, particularly head trauma, traumatic brain injuries. And so I am a strong proponent of it, and want you to know, and I, by the way, very much appreciated your dialogue with Senator Moran, because he was getting to the heart of an issue that I think a lot of us, as you could probably tell, are challenged by, and that is just how large the bureaucracy is and how difficult it can be to maneuver it, and how often we'll actually pass legislation that's signed into law only to have it sort of either slow walked or whether intentionally or unintentionally. And I happen to believe that most of the time it's with good intentions. But with regard to HBOT, I was able to get language in the John Scott legislation that you're very familiar with, that would authorize the Secretary of the VA to enter into public-private partnerships to research the effectiveness of hyperbaric oxygen therapy. And it would require, and I stress require, the VA to use an objective test to measure the effectiveness of hyperbaric oxygen therapy. And it would commission a comprehensive review and study of HBOT, both within the VA and I think importantly with outside organizations as well, because there's just a lot of experience out there that to this point hasn't been brought, in my view, into a good peer-reviewed objective study. But it would be completed with a recommendation then from the VA about the effectiveness of HBOT. I stress that because that is language in the bill that makes it law. And I believe there are, as I said, real benefits to this innovative therapy. And by the way, other innovative therapies. And I think you and I talked about the important role the VA has played, leadership role it's played in some of very effective alternatives to traditional medicine, or in addition to traditional medicine. But I really want to just, I guess, again, thank you for listening and get a reaffirmation of your commitment to fulfill both the letter of that law and then the spirit of it, and then accept my invitation to Fargo on your way to Alaska to see Dan Sullivan.
Anytime I can go to Fargo, I'll take it. One, two is I'll be happy to recommit to making sure that we dig into the analysis of the therapy, consistent with the intent and the statute, and consistent with getting to the brass tack here to find out what's the best way and best vehicles to deliver the kind of care to our vets that they've earned.
I appreciate that. I've written down a number of the things you've said in quotes. I won't repeat all of them, but one thing you've said a couple of times in response to the question about your cred, if you will, your street cred for this job. And I love that when you say, I know how government works. I think that's oftentimes a or underappreciated skill set and gift and experience. So I believe you when you say that. You have every reason to know how government works. As you said, you've seen it from both ends of Pennsylvania Avenue, and count me as an affirmative vote.
Thank you.
And someone who looks forward to working with you once you are confirmed. And with
Thanks so
that,
much,
I yield
Senator.
the rest of my time, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Senator Kramer. Before I have my closing remarks, I will turn it over to the ranking member, Senator Moran.
Chairman Tester, thank you very much. It was tolerable to have you in the chair today, and it's not exactly what I wanted, but it's not a bad deal either. So thank you for working with me and my colleagues on this side of the aisle as we commit to do to you and your colleagues. And Mr. McDonough, before I ask you a question, I wanted to point out to the committee that we have a new staff director now on the minority side, who came from the House minority side, but was in both the minority and majority staff world in the Senate, and is returning now to the Senate. This is his first meeting since his arrival. And John Towers is behind me, and we look forward to having him and his help. And we make him available to you, Mr.
Great.
McDonough, should you be confirmed.
Thank you.
Mr. McDonough, would you commit to me that you're a fan of the Chiefs?
Senator Moran, I'm a big fan of Patrick Mahomes. But I'm a Vikings fan, and I hate to admit that I'm kind of old school that way. So,
Well, you could have answered the question in a worse way. So, Mr. McDonough, I thank you for your interest in serving as the Secretary of the Department of Veterans Affairs. I thank you for your testimony today. I just wanted you to know, based upon what you have said and what I have learned about you, that I will vote for your confirmation.
thank you.
And I will ask my Republican colleagues to do the same. And I look forward to working with you, and your commitment is evident to me. And I think we can accomplish a lot on behalf of those who served our nation working together. So best wishes to you and your family, and I thank them. I know your wife in particular is involved in veterans services,
Sure.
and I would express my gratitude as I did personally to her, but here publicly for her efforts. And so as a family, we wish you all well in this new endeavor. And,
Thank you very
I'm
much.
grateful for your service. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator.
Senator Moran, Mr. McDonough, I don't know if Moran had that question that he asked you and knew the real impact of it, but not only is Jerry Moran a Chiefs fan, but my committee director is also a Chiefs fan. So, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter if you're a Vikings fan as long as you root for the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. That's all. Okay. I also want to welcome John Towers. John is somebody that both Jerry and I had the opportunity to work with when he was in the House. And as you well know, Dennis, oftentimes the relationship between the principals is important, but the relationship between the staff is more important.
Here, here.
And so I want to welcome you on board, John. And I also want to thank your wife and your family that have sat attentively behind you, nodding their heads and paying attention. And I can't see their eyes, so I don't think they nodded off very often anyway. But the truth is we all know that the power and the ability for any of us to serve in any of these positions, whether it's elected or staff, really relies with the family and how
Hear, hear.
important they are to our ability to do our job. And I want to thank our committee today for their thoughtful questions and their belief in the way they put across the fact that veterans are number one in this committee, and that's why we work on this committee so well. You know, I looked at the FBI report day before yesterday, and I think Senator Moran is going to do it tomorrow. And I don't think I'm out of school by saying that it was pretty darn stellar. In fact, I told the lady that brought it in, I would have to pay a lot of money to get this many recommendations of what a fine fellow I am. And so you are a highly qualified candidate. And I believe that you will work with this committee to ensure that we keep the promises to the men and women who have served their country and their families too, by the way. And Senator Moran visited, and we have an agreement that we plan to meet again on Tuesday to vote on Denis McDonough's nomination to be Secretary of the Veterans Affairs, as well as the committee rules and the budget. And that's what we're going to do. I think the fact that you had not met with Senator Tillis or Senator Sanders yet, and the fact that the ranking member had not seen the FBI report requires us to do it then. Otherwise, I would have tried to move it up, but I'm not going to based on that.
Yep.
I would ask, as I pointed out to Senator Sinema, that any post-hearing questions be sent to the clerk by tomorrow at 5 p.m. And then we will need those responses back from you before we vote on Tuesday. With that, once again, I want to thank you and your family for being here. Always a pleasure to work with Senator Moran. This hearing is adjourned.
Thank you.
I hadn't thought about seeing your.